Welcome back. So now that we've created a web map in ArcGIS.com, we're going to make a spiffy story map out of it to present this to the public. So let's go ahead and save this map. I'm going to call it work. We always need to add a tag and a description. Tag can be work. Summary. Map of minutes worked in the household by women in each state, and we're going to save it in my content. Hope I'm logged into the correct account here. Okay, so we've saved this web map. You can see the name has been updated here. Let's actually just quickly change the base map. Since it's not a reference map, we can just have a nice plain base map here. I've included a link in the PowerPoint to some other fancy base maps that you can get from other places. Here we have the usual choices, but there are other places that you can search for base maps. And just as an aside, we could also search for additional layers or living atlas layers if we wanted to. So for example, if we wanted this modern antique base map, we could use it as a base map for this particular topic. It's not that appropriate for this topic, but it's a fancy, nice looking map. So we can leave it like that, save the map, and navigate over to content. So you'll notice once we create this base map, or rather this web map, it's been added under my content. So here at the top we have content. Earlier we used map to create the web map. And under content, I've now created this new web map just today. So I'm going to add to that by creating a new app using a template. And I'm going to do this second option, which is build a story map. And you can see that there are 8 different templates for story maps: basic, a cascade, crowdsource, map series, journal, swipe and spyglass, and tour and shortlist. So we're going to go with this journal, and we're going to create a web map out of it. We'll call it work. Same tag as previously, because it's going to be based around the same topic as our web map, and we can give it a summary. Description of state level household work by women. So we'll create the web app first, and it gives us 2 choices of how we want the panel, either on the side or floating over the map. We can go with either. We can call it work for now and change this later on. And we'll see that we have a side panel here and a main stage here. So whenever we edit content, it will refer to editing the side panel versus editing the main stage. So let's first populate the main stage with, perhaps let's just start with a photo. It would be the, say, the title slide of our presentation. So let's look up women household work and see if we can get an image online. One that won't violate copyright restrictions. This one's interesting. Maybe we'll find something that is a little more representative. So here we may be able to use this confuse me. We may be able to use this image here. How do we, I think they've taken off this option to copy the image, probably because of copyright restrictions. Okay, apologies. I had a little crash on the computer, so I had to restart everything. So here we go, back to trying to add a web link. I've opened up a Google Scholar web page, or rather the link to an article through Google Scholar, and we can embed this directly into our map journal. It won't make for a very interesting title page, so I don't recommend this as an example, but it's always best to use proprietary photos if you have them. You can upload the image here. In this case, I'll just show you how to link to a web page. So we can configure how we want that to appear and try different versions, variations if we don't like the way that it looks. We can add some alternative text, perhaps research article on housework. And then here on the side panel, we would add text that then gives some background on the information, or this is our first slide, so we might say something like, welcome to our presentation on women's household work in the US. So this might be a title slide in which we say this is what this presentation is about, maybe the authors, and so on. Or rather, start with a hook and give the subsequent information on other slides. Okay, so here we might add an additional section called Women's Work Historically. And we might select the map that we just created, this work map here. We see it's the states that we created. And actually it's not historic data, so let me remove that for a moment. I was jumping ahead of myself. So it asks, where do we want to zoom into the map? You can leave everything default and see what it looks like. I usually like to custom configure the map, so I might zoom in a little bit further, or zoom out, see what it looks like, or zoom to a particular part of the map. Let's say I really care about the Western United States. So I would save this view for my first page of the presentation. Then content, it asks which layers are you going to show. And this is where layer naming is actually very important. Here you can see I didn't do a great job. I called them the same, the ArcGIS for the dots and ArcGIS for the states. So I should have given them descriptive names, something like states, work, minutes, or university location. So this tells you, do you want to turn on and off some of the layers for this particular view? And here I might not show the university, for example. And then we can configure pop-ups. So you'll notice when you click on a state, it gives you the whole attribute table. And we can configure whether or not we want to show the whole pop-up or just part of the table. So here we might show the part of the table of Oregon, save the configuration. We might add the legend so that the viewer knows what these colors actually means. We could add a feature finder if that was important to the map. Most people probably can identify states, so that's unnecessary here. If we wanted an overview map to show what part of the map we're zoomed in on, we could do that. Say we're looking at a small part of Orange County and we wanted the whole county visible, we could do that as well. Okay, and here we might say number of minutes worked by women is higher in some states than others. Again, this is just an example. You can see I'm not giving any important information here and haven't done any analysis on this map. So this is just for the purposes of seeing how to create the story map. So here you'll see that the pop-up comes up as configured, and I'm able to shut it down. And here you can see that we've added now 2 slides to the presentation, essentially. We have the first slide and then links to the second slide. Looks like I'm having some slow connection issues here, so the maps are not populating as quickly as they should be. But this is where your maps appear. And then you can see that as you're working on your story map, it's currently private, and I could save it at this point. I've added a little bit of content. I don't want to wait too long to save the story map. And then you can always go up here to settings. If you don't like the side panel, you can see what it looks like with the floating panel. Check out the other layout options if you want an even smaller side panel. If you want it on the right side instead of the left side. Different color scheme. Different fonts. If you want a particular logo at the top other than the Esri logo, and so on. Okay, and since I've made a little bit of a change here in terms of the colors and the size of the sidebar, I'm going to save. I can always go back. I'm not sure why it's being so slow loading today. Anyhow, but that gives you a sense of how quick it is to create a story map. So we just keep adding sections here. If we wanted a third slide that contains another map, or perhaps upload an image, you can upload directly from your machine. I usually recommend that so that you're not dependent on loading from other websites. We can upload the JPEG of a map that you created in ArcMap desktop, right? So you can create your map in layout view, design a really nice looking map, and then embed the image here in our presentation. That's perfectly fine as well. And maybe only have one interactive web map in your story map. Okay, that gets us started with story maps. Good luck.